Welcome to the Smart Business Show episode 122. Today I got to talk to Kim Doyal, who is the WP chick. We had a great talk about business and life and family. She has a great sort of tragic story as well. She was widowed many years ago now, but how we were talking about how she moved from retail and how working for herself, working online, working now in the information space. She was doing like outsourcing, but we talk about how that enabled her to be the mom she wanted to be and be there for her kids, even in this obviously tough time. So today we are talking to Kim. It says Kimberly on your profile. Do you prefer Kim or Kimberly?
Kim would be great.
Kim,
Nobody
okay.
calls me Kimberly.
Kim Doyal. And you are the WP chick, right?
Yes. After
Yes.
WordPress kindly let me know I couldn't use it in the URL.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a few years after I had launched it, and they just said, hey,
WordPress chick before.
Yeah, the WordPress.
Okay, yeah. So for those who don't know, you can't use WordPress as the name in your URL. It's copyright, trademark stuff, and they have to defend that legally, or they can lose it.
They were
one of the
super
reasons
nice.
they have to do it. Yeah.
But
so why don't you tell us a little bit more about you besides the fact that you were was a trademark infringer, I suppose?
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah.
So the WordPress chick, and it's funny that whole thing came about just because it really was ignorance is bliss. Like when I started my business like 9 years ago, I thought I was going to be a millionaire information marketer, right? Like what? I can sell an ebook online. And here's the funny thing too, Curtis, is like, I was not super technical at all. So I was in retail management. I was you guys have HomeSense up there, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
in some spots, it's a home store, right?
Yeah. So Home Goods is in the Bay Area. I mean, United States. Anyway, so they were a great company and stuff. So I was with them. And then in 2003, I was widowed, and it was just, my kids were little. They were 6 and 2. And I just was like, retail. I mean, and I was moving up with the company. I was traveling a lot, but there was just no way that as a single parent, I mean, it was kind of hellacious to begin with because my husband worked nights and stuff. And so on one hand, it was great because the kids' schedule really wasn't affected. I mean, by that loss, but I just kind of was on a mission. And so I would say between 2003 and 2008, I kept searching. I got a real estate license. I got an insurance license. My dad was like, hey, Kim, maybe the post office has a license you can get. But it's one of those things. I mean, it was a really dark period in my life, but I found the internet in a way, in terms of, I know there's something else I can do with this. I'd gone to a wealth expo in San Francisco, and it's funny because we won't go there, but Trump spoke and Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins, but it was all in real estate before the crash. But I went to this little offshoot on internet marketing, and I was like, holy moly, there's something else here to do. And in 2008, I had a little bit of a cushion, and I just said, I can't do this anymore. I was done with retail, and I just said, I have to make this work. So 9 years later, I'm still making it work.
Yeah, retail can certainly be hard. My wife was a sales manager of a big canoe shop, like biggest canoe shop from BC, probably down to somewhere in California and all the way out to Ontario. So,
it's no quality of life. I mean,
she stopped that after our first part, like after she went back to work after a year, because that's maternity leave up here. And she worked for like 8 months while we paid off all our debt, except our mortgage at the time. And then she quit. Because she'd get home at especially in the summers, which is the busy for that retail brand, right? For, outdoor paddling stuff would be the summers. She'd get home at 6:30 to put her daughter to bed, and that's it. And she'd drop her off in the morning. And I was the main caregiver because I could walk down the street to pick her up from daycare.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just, Thanksgiving to Christmas was mandated 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And then you go into inventory and all those things. And again, I love the company. It was a fun store to work in, but, I can't begin to tell you, finding daycare and dropping off and picking up, and then a toddler, and then school, and then coordinating with family to watch the kids when I was working. It's it was hell. Yeah,
I can imagine. I know. Say we've talked a few times here about how even her schedule with having me here, being able to do it, it wouldn't have worked otherwise. Our daycare option would have been more limited because she would have had to find someone who could watch the kid till 7 and right? As
Yeah.
opposed to
And
me
then
being
you
able to pick
add,
her up at 4 o'clock. And then you're there for like, you get to see your kid for 3 hours a day or something, 2 hours a day.
totally, and add to that the expense.
That's
You
right.
know, I mean, it was when my son, it was because there was a lot of home daycares and stuff. And so it was when, because he was 2.5 and my daughter was in school part-time, like kindergarten, but then I put him in a Montessori because it was close and it was clean and
Mm.
convenient. But I mean, literally, I mean, Montessori was $800 or $900 a month.
Yeah, yeah. By the time you've worked, like you're only bringing home like a pittance compared to
Yeah.
what you should. Yeah, yeah, yeah. By the time you count that, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So, when you found this internet marketing thing, how did you actually train yourself? Because you said you were non-technical. How did you
I totally
navigate
was.
that?
um, you know, what's funny is I signed up. So I did two things first. I signed up for
Hmm.
this social media course. It was like a 12-week course and it was $1,500, which there was no way I would have ever thought I would have spent that
Mm.
on like an online training program. But, you know, I think first of all, you get brought to your knees, Curtis. There's a lot you realize you can get through, right? And so I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do this. And again, I had a cushion.
Hmm.
And here you also get, so I have survivor benefits for my kids,
Hmm.
right? So I always had
Yeah.
some income. But um, so I was like, okay, I'm going to show up to this. So I did. I did this. That was when I first joined Facebook and Twitter and stuff.
Hmm.
So I started doing that, but I connected with people. I made a point of engaging in forums and stuff. And so I was like, I want to do a WordPress site, and it's like, or a website. And one of the first things I was going to do was getmeoutoretail.com.
Hmm.
But I'm like, why would you want to talk about something you hate every day, right? So that's correct. Long story short, I connected with somebody actually in Canada. He had his own CMS at the time. And I said, Pete, can I pay you to teach me? Can we do like a session a week? You know, and so I
Hmm.
reached out to him. And then the other thing is the first chick website I had, and it might even be up because it was a reseller URL too, was the Self-Help Chick. I'm a total information junkie,
Hmm.
read a ton. And you know who had designed that site for me at the time was Lisa Sabine Wilson.
Yep.
So, and
I worked for her way back in the day too. Probably around that same time I was doing contract work for her.
yeah, and it was, I love the site. So I thought I'm gonna monetize this with AdSense, right? AdSense was pretty big, and so then I went to Elance and I looked for help with. I just posted a job for AdSense and WordPress because I was like, how do I put this here? And I found another guy who was in Washington, and so I had a call each week with these guys, and I just would come with questions, and we would screen share, and they would help me.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll never forget when he showed me something in the CSS, and it's like I'd started to fall in love with Photoshop, and because I had done graphic design in school, loved it. Anyways, and so I thought, so if I just change the hex code, this will change the color. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I know I can do this.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, I never wanted to do websites truly. Like I love content. I love this stuff. But I fell into it because I started bartering and just like, I can do this and I can do this, and just ended up hiring people. It went in a direction I didn't intend, but
Mhm.
I'm grateful it did.
So now, was it really I can do this, or was it I can probably figure this out before before anyone catches me?
No, you know,
That's
well,
where I fall a little bit for sure sometimes.
well, again, it was more of an ignorance is bliss,
Mm.
truly. But I use the analogy. I'm like, if I can put together IKEA furniture, I can figure this shit out. I was, you know, and it was just, I don't even know. I just kept moving forward. I knew that there was no way back. I couldn't go backwards. So I just kept plugging along, really.
Hmm.
I wish there was a better strategy or answer to that, but and it's the other thing is it's like as soon as I realized I could hire people, I was like, oh, like nothing beats posting a task and then waking up and like it's done. The thing where the hard thing for me was when it was my own stuff, it was great, but I still had to go in and make sure everything worked and figure that out. And I mean, you remember WordPress, like however many years ago, you couldn't even reorder pages or do a menu or anything.
I do remember that. I remember lots of those when menus were new and custom post types were new.
Yeah, so I stuck with it, and it's been totally up and down, up and down. I created a business that had not been my intention, like I said. Like I love creating content, I like connecting with people, but still, I love the ability that WordPress gives people the opportunity. I mean, if it weren't for WordPress, you know, I'm like, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Mm-hmm. And as you said, like it gave you that unique opportunity to, or working in the digital space to be there for the kids still, right?
Yeah, and I should say too, like I've sort of always had this entrepreneurial bent, like
Mm.
probably like some people. I don't know how many network marketing companies I attempted, but I also opened and ran I was an owner in a retail scrapbook store in
Mm.
1998. You know, I'd done retail, I'd grown up in it, and so I loved it. And you got to sell a lot of 10-cent sheets of paper and
Yeah, yeah.
stickers, right? The difference was it's like my partner at the time, I would have gone and opened more stores. Like I would think I would have gone and looked for funding and to scale it because it was kind of in its infancy. But it was more of a hobby for her. So it was when I got pregnant with my son, I'm like, well, this isn't, but it's
Mm.
like I've always had this drive. I did contract recruiting. So yeah, I love this space. I love learning. And I thought, okay, just stick with it.
It's funny how many people I talk to that are like that. I know, like, from the time I was 19, every manner of job I did, I was trying on the side to see if I really liked it for myself until I was in my mid to late 20s and found, and while doing a counseling degree, taught myself how to program because it seemed more, because the counseling was it was easy enough for me that I didn't, like, I still did really good at it while teaching myself to program in the middle of class.
That's pretty awesome. With the counseling degree, did you practice too? I know we had talked and
I did practice a little
yeah.
bit, and then I was tired of working with people that really weren't active in the change they wanted to see. They'd say, like, here's my problem. We'd talk about it. And the next week, what'd you do? Like, they did absolutely nothing to actually step forward. It felt to me like many of them wanted to complain.
You know, what's funny is I still see my therapist that I
Mm.
found when I lost my husband. She's kind of become this life mentor and she's
Yeah.
this phenomenal businesswoman also. And I remember talking to her and she hit a juncture in her career where she's like, I cannot keep doing this over and
Mm.
over, and really brought a lot of her own spirituality and personal beliefs into it. And we're totally on the same page with that.
Mm.
But it was like, she even moved away from the area. And so we stayed in touch via email. She would do phone counseling with me. And then when I started this, I was like, I cannot move through the rest of my life the same way. And especially with my kids, like, this is going to sound harsh, but I was kind of a yeller. I was very type A,
Mm.
and do it, like, and not a hard ass, but I needed to function. It's like there were nights, Curtis, it's like, working 40, 50 hours a week.
Mm.
And then Tuesday and Thursday nights, we'd have soccer practice. So it's like I drop one here and then I drop one here and then I come back. It was
Yeah.
so it was just like, I
I
just
know
made
how it
it.
is with two of us, right, doing it, and
Yeah.
it's still, I am still in the same mode and have much more support, right?
But it was a conscious choice. I was like,
Mm.
I can't do this way anymore. And
Mhm.
so, really knew I wanted to live life on my own terms and all of that, but I needed to move through it in a more gentle manner, I think. And so I do a ton of work, but my point was her business exploded with that too. And I mean, you can only listen to people complain for so long.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I say that, and like, my wife and I go see a counselor probably every other year at least. There's something that comes up that we're just not communicating well on. I
Mhm.
think there's always a time in someone's life where they're going to need to go see a counselor or psychiatrist, whatever their letters are after their name.
Mhm.
But it just wasn't for me. So now coaching is different, right? I'm doing essentially the same thing. I even regularly in my coaching practice, I will talk to, like, both, so the business owner and their spouse or their partner, and we'll, like, align on goals. That's one of the first sessions. We get them to do all their goals separately. We get them to build them together, and then we talk through. And it's amazing how many times the business owner will be saying, "Oh, this is how the business runs," and the spouse is like, that's not what you do." Right? And they talk, and the spouse talks, and the business owner's like, "Oh, okay, so I probably think I should be doing it the other way, though." But I'm not actually doing it. You're right. And that's really good to help them both align, because lots of times you'll find, like, the spouse, like, or the business owner. My great example is a business owner, one client was like, "Hey, I'm only going to work 14 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 10 hours on Saturday, and like 1 hour on Sunday." And I was like, "What?" And he talked to your partner about this? Yeah, they said that it's good. Get them on the phone right now. And we talked, and they're like, "Oh no, it used to be like 16 hours a day every day." So I agreed to any, if you're drowning, you'll take, like,
Any
anything that's
shortage.
thrown at you, right? Like, here's a pipe cleaner. I'll grab it just because it's something to grab. Like, so, and working through that, and, like, getting them to I guess the partner, the spouse, to, like, say, that's not like, it's not really acceptable, right? and getting to work through like seasons in life, right? So my wife and I have done this a few times where I've worked really long hours. I worked really long hours from like a October to December 20th. And then I didn't work again almost at all until February 25th or something. We had a kid in the middle of that. I had to go into the city, right? I'm outside of Vancouver. I went to the city and taught at a local community college for 4 days. And other than that, I did some email here and there and said no to everything. I'm not starting till late February again. So
I love that. You're really good with boundaries, Curtis. And it was after I had interviewed you for my show, I was like, I can just do calls 1 day a week, which my business has totally shifted in the last, like, say 4 or 5 months. But, you know, I have this, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but, you know, John Perez and I had started this other podcast, but it was like the whole F the hustle movement. I'm so tired of that mentality. And it's just, I can work less hours and get more done when I'm taking care of myself. It just is. And so, and I did the crazy hours. The difference is, you know, I mean, yeah, I was picking up and doing the kids by myself, but it's like I was home for them. Like literally, my daughter would come in and sit on the office and sit on the bed and fill me in on her day. And, you know, and it was just, I can't imagine our lives had I either stayed at a job or just been like, no, because there are a lot of people that I always want to work from home. I have no desire for an office. Don't want to go. Just no desire. But I just think them seeing me do it, like they both want their own businesses. They both want to be entrepreneurs. She does contract editing and podcasts. She's a film student, so she's got her own clients while going to college. She doesn't have a dumb job.
You know, I say the boundary setting and like being able to. So January and February, I basically took every Monday off to go skiing with my oldest.
That is fantastic.
So, and then coming into now, you know, when ski season's over, despite getting snow 3 weeks ago here still in the mountains. Like now almost every Monday I don't start work till 10 o'clock because I get up at about 4:30 and go for a run through the mountains.
Nice.
And I get home at like 9ish, but you know, by the time I shower and talk a bit and it's about 10 o'clock by the time I start, and I usually still cut out by 3, 4.
Yeah, no, I don't.
4 for sure. So my wife can go for her run before dinner.
I napped yesterday at about 3:30, and I was like, you know, summer's coming. I'm like, I like to float in the pool. I like to read. I just, you know, I got to get the dogs out of the house. So it's just, and again, because I've shifted my business, it's really easy. It's all just me now for the most part.
Yeah. And we talked, I think even before, or like I interviewed for your podcast, we talked even months before that, didn't we? About how you were looking at hiring people, or how.
I probably, but it's crazy since then, Kurt. Like I have no more service work. I had an outsourcing company that people.
Yes, that's right.
Right. So gone, completely gone. I don't do any more service work. I have 2 clients that we manage their podcast stuff for them. But other than that, I totally shifted because it was kind of and it's scary, right? Like we're talking about this sole breadwinner. I've got some income, but it was like, I can't do both. And I never wanted to build an outsourcing company. My intention was never to do web dev and stuff. I'm grateful for it. And again, I'm not a developer, but it gave me a different understanding of stuff. But really, I'm like, I've got 2 focuses and that's it.
Yeah, and even making the transition from an established business goes easier when you're making a transition, right? Establishing it the first time takes longer. But as I continue to establish my coaching, it's wildly more successful, say a year into really pushing it than my development business was. But it's not quite as successful as the 10-year-old development business was, which makes sense.
It still takes time, but you've got a brand, you've got the validity of all that, right? So that's where I started looking. Like, I can't. It blows me away. It's funny. I did a live stream with Matt Medeiros last week, and we were talking afterwards, and he's like, "So are you just kind of promoting other people's stuff?" And I said, "You know, I'll continue to create content, and there's some cornerstone content I need to put on my site for beginner WordPress user, just because the name, I think it would serve my audience." But I said, I've created a platform, and I'm so happy to promote and share and talk about everything awesome that's happening in the space while still doing my own thing. So I'm like, I'm kind of the cheerleader for it, I guess.
Well, and I think that's also the something called the abundance mindset, right? So and I have it with technically my direct competitors who are also friends in the WordPress space, where I've looked at the proposals they've been sending to the client that I'm also coding on and being like, "Oh, you didn't talk about these 3 things. You should maybe add that in there." Because there's more work out there, right? There's clients that suit them best and clients that suit me best. And I have never really worried about it.
No, I kind of live from that place,
Mm-hmm.
the abundance mindset. And my energy is really important to me. And I had taken on too many projects for the money because of the stress. And, still to this day, so many people don't get what I do in my personal life. And like my family's super supportive. My daughter totally gets what I do now,
Mm-hmm.
but still everyone's like, oh, I remember my mom saying once, like, maybe you should get a part-time job. And I'm like, no, I'll
Mm-hmm.
walk away from the house. And I did. I sold my house last year. And that was my intention, my son has 2 years left in high school. And then I'm like, I just need internet. My daughter's
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
So I'm looking at Costa Rica maybe, or,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who knows? But it was just a lot of change happening. But you get to a point where I'm like, I need to guide myself based on what makes me feel good, truly.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm so much better to everybody when I take care of myself. And, it's interesting. I don't know, it's not like I would never go tell a friend who's opening a restaurant how to open a restaurant. Right. But
Mm-hmm.
people see you working at home. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that. I mean, I haven't gotten that for years. I'm like, Dad,
My
can you attach
father-in-law,
an email?
yeah, my father-in-law, who's absolutely not an entrepreneur. He's started working at Bell Canada at 18. He will retire next year or the year after, as like he's now the most senior employee at Bell by like a decade,
Oh my
right?
God.
Yeah, they senior. Maybe he's the second. Like, there's two people at last I checked that were at that level of like, at retirement level who started at 18.
Mm-hmm.
So he's often been like, oh, there's this great tech job over at like putting up towers for Bell, and there's this other thing, and I always think, you are right. I'm perfectly capable of doing that. And I must understand that you're doing this because it's something you see safety in. And that's the way you prize it. But
Mm-hmm.
I always think like when my daughter took her first steps and I could run downstairs and like spend an hour coaxing her into her second steps, like that sounds more valuable to me, right?
Yeah, and that's what I've done too. Like my dad's a retired police
Hmm.
officer. He worked 2 jobs and stuff. And my parents are my biggest champions now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and when I'm like, hey, I got a podcast sponsorship for the cost of a website, they're like, wow, that works, that kind of stuff. But I just shift it, and I'm like, they're always coming from a place of love and concern for me.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, whatever. I
Yeah,
mean,
I used to
yeah.
annoy me when my father-in-law did that. Then I'd just be like, "Oh, thanks for the idea, Rob,"
Mhm.
because he's doing it because he loves me, he loves the kids, and that's where he sees value and safety. And
Yeah.
he's since stopped a bit more, but and it's very very foreign to him. I was exactly the opposite guy that their daughter had always dated.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was the guy who was said, "I've been living on my own for 5 years. I will do what I please."
And it's like,
Right?
wait
If
a
she would
minute,
like to drive
we
my
need to
car,
do
she can
this.
drive the car. Go for it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll cut her a key. Right?
Yeah.
And he was always like, no, she can't drive on, the 400 series highways, the big highways or something. Right? But it's
Oh.
like, I don't care what she does.
You're like, whatever,
So
I've got insurance. That's kind of the whole point of it,
that's what it's
right?
there for. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Amen.
um, so you talked about books. I'm a huge, big reader as well. What are some of the books that made the biggest difference in your work, in your life?
It's funny. Wayne Dyer. I love Dr. Dyer, and I saw him speak, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in San
Mhm.
Francisco. And I remember it was a year after even my husband had passed. And because I was a total video tape girl in the car, right? Like when I
Mm.
commuted and stuff. And like at 22, I had a crate in the back of my car with tapes in it from like Nightingale Conant. But it was just like I had done the whole Tony Robbins was like my first foray into
Mm.
that. And then I worked in the book industry for like 10 years. I grew up and was a district manager for a bookstore chain. And so then I moved on to like Dennis Waitley and Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and all that stuff. And then I found sort of this spiritual element to moving
Mhm.
through life. And so Wayne Dyer, he just amazed me. And I went through all of his books, and you could see the trajectory of his writing shifting. But I knew that, it was that connection of what goes on in your head will dictate your reality. And it was also, I remember Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World, which you would think it's about sales, but it was not. And these 10 scrolls, and it was like, I'll greet this day with love in my heart. And I was like, holy moly, like there's another way to do this. And it's been a journey, but I
Mm.
mean, I would say, and I pretty much business nonfiction. I'm always reading like 6 books at a
Mm.
time. I love novels too, but that, and it's finding that balance. Cause I'm just the hardcore leadership stuff. I prefer reading things that like I feel like I'm listening to the person talk. I'm reading
Mm.
Everybody Writes by Anne Hanley.
Oh, I've got that.
Oh my God, because I'm obsessed with content right now. It's phenomenal.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm like, it's so, you can just implement. I'm like, you can read, like, cause the whole thing is broken into, not chapters so much, but like sections. And I'm like, I can go implement this after reading 3 pages. I've got a tip or something I can implement.
It's great when you find those. I'm reading The Compelling Communicator right now, and it's about presentation specifically. But as I look at his formula for like finding good content or good stuff to like, I'm like, oh, that's like for proposals. This is for your website too. This is for like a blog post. You could like sketch out his little pyramid thing with the questions. I'm like, that's great. Like, and then you know exactly what your argument should be and how much weight they should get and everything. It's, yeah, I'm going to put a bunch of my stuff through that in the next bit. So,
well, and it's the other guy I fell in love with is Ryan Holiday. Have you read The Obstacles?
Oh, I love Ryan Holiday stuff.
I do too.
I email him fan stuff. Like, this is awesome. I email him all. Yes.
For people, and like I told
he's got a new book coming out. I just emailed yesterday.
Just saw that.
Did you pre-order it too? I did.
Yeah, from his reading list. And
yep, I did yesterday.
Yeah. He's like, James Altucher said this is my best book yet. But it was just, I love the way he pulls in history and events and stuff. Like I have my son reading The Obstacles Away. I'm like, dude, I'll pay you, which he loves to read, but he loves history too. And, high school's a tricky time to navigate. I'm like, find that your own compass. I'm like, read this, you'll love it. And, books are just, it amazes me how many people don't do that. And here's the other crazy thing. I went like a year and a half ago, I hired a Facebook ad agency, Jason Hornung, and I just think the world of this guy because it was a different level of integrity and mastery of his craft that I hadn't seen in this space. And so like, I kind of went back to fundamentals. And so I've been reading like old books on copyright. I spent a year just testing headlines, blog posts, and trying to understand what works and what doesn't. And so, I mean, books are kind of everywhere. I don't know that they're like, whenever I'm not sure I get stuck, I always get inspiration from them.
Yeah. So is the book you've given away the most? I know mine is always 48 Days to the Work You Love. It's a great book on finding your purpose, with the single caveat that if the author, Dan Miller, is very faith-based. And if you're going to read something about like what God intends you to do and think this is terrible, I will never read it, then don't read the book. Right? He's talking about your purpose. He's talking about your purpose. If that's going to turn you off, which it does to some people, I say, don't read it because you're just going to ignore the whole message. But if you can say, okay, he's talking about your purpose, like what you're best at, he just equates it to what God has built you to. So is there one that you give away a lot? Because I give away that book, like I often have like 5 copies on the desk for like a month and I just keep shuffling them off to people.
Well, I actually, as soon as I got Everybody Writes, I ordered it for 2 friends immediately who are like, one is, she struggles with content. I'm like, you're a good writer. Get over this. I don't know what people think. I'm like, if you start getting into the space of this is a cool process, and there's rabbit holes and people get worried about doing the work. I'm like, my rabbit holes are part of my work. Like I document and I track and stuff. And some of the Danielle Laporte too, for people who feel sort of stuck, primarily women. But it's, I've given away her, not the Fire Starter Sessions, that was her first one. And for the Desire Map was a great one too. But Obstacles Away, I've ordered that. So there's not necessarily one. It sort of depends on where I'm at and who I'm connecting with. I think I've got a book that I could probably recommend to anybody. Choose Yourself by Altucher was great too.
Yeah, I find that too. I'll be talking to people. I'll be like, oh, you should read this book. And then 5 minutes later, oh, this is a really good book on that same idea. Right? I read one called Pivot recently, and I liked the
Jenny
author's.
Blake.
So I like the author's concept. I don't think she supported the argument very well. And so my end was like, here's her 4 stages. Here's 6 books that do like each stage a little better, right? So read, for the purpose phase, read these 2 books. For this phase, do these 2 books. So I think, yes.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I love to, the other one I've given away in a giveaway was Srini Rao's Unmistakable Creative.
Got that one too. I'm a victim of like, hey, this looks like a good book, and I just buy it. And so I've got I probably bought 5 books yesterday. I did not read 5 books yesterday. I do that all the time. My wife's always like, how many books did you buy? As they pop through on her Kindle when she opens it up. She's like, how much did you buy yesterday?
Yeah. Well, and Amazon loves me because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to read it and listen to it. So I've got, because I joke that I'm the most antisocial shopper. I always have earbuds in. I'm always listening to a book or a podcast or something. And so, I listen to a lot of audiobooks still. I love audio.
I do as well. Normally fiction because I want to take notes with my business style reading.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else? Anything else that's awesome? I don't know.
You know what? Well, yeah, here's a crazy thing. So this is where I'll try not to get on a soapbox here, but
Mm,
like with the direction that I've shifted in my business, I see a lot of people, and I think as entrepreneurs, we're always doing multiple things. And I look at like if something, look, a squirrel kind of grabs me, I look at that as playtime. Like I allow myself a certain amount of time, but nothing has shifted things for me the way there's two things. One, the podcast blew up my business. And not so much from the income perspective as much as I look at the relationships and the connections, right?
mm,
I mean, it's just phenomenal what it's done. And it gave me, I hit 150 episodes and I did this, what it's given me. And the first thing was confidence because I did a lot of the imposter syndrome about, well, I'm not a
mm,
developer, I'm not a designer. And it was then I shifted that and I owned that. Like I literally was a speech major. I wanted to do what Wayne Dyer did. I was like, I'm going to be a motivational speaker, right?
mm.
And I'm like, I just found a way to pull this in. But you don't know where connections and relationships are going to lead you. And so like where,
Evidently, there's a leaf blower outside today.
yeah, I can tell you, I'm like, when I move, I don't want any neighbors. I want no lawn noises. But the other thing, so the only two things I'm doing now, I partnered with somebody to do a web app. I'm not a coder and developer, but like I'm constantly looking for things and I'm always coming from the perspective of the user, like Infusionsoft. For something that costs so much money, it's a pain in the ass. I feel like the UI is a mess. It's not intuitive. It's not easy for someone to get in there and do. So you have people, paying for Infusionsoft as basically an email broadcast system. And so
And then paying for an implementer too, right? If they want to use it as anything
that's
more.
exactly it. I'm like, you shouldn't have to hire someone to manage the tools. If you want to, so be it. So I connected with a plugin developer last year. I had him, he was moving a bunch of plugins off of Code Canyon. And so he's looking for people to support. We hit it off. And so then he's like, do you have any ideas for plugins? I love WordPress. I love plugins. I feel like the financial feasibility of that is challenging. People don't want to spend the money in this space the way marketers will spend $300 a month if they can measure the ROI. So I'm like, let's do a web app. So we're doing that. And like he's developing it, I get to do content and marketing. I'm like, that's awesome. And then the other thing is just content. I'm focused on going towards two things, recurring revenue and everything I do. So it'll be a membership model based on content. And the point is, it was just, I had to get rid of this stuff and people don't want to focus and they get so overboard with, or like mastering funnels. Are you capturing name and email? Like, are you doing just that? Like start simple, but people get so tactical. And I'm like, just create good stuff, share it and connect with people.
Well, the other thing to remember too, right? Like, as I'm 37 currently, and I'm thinking like there's so much to do, but I've still got like 30, 40, 50 more years to do it. Like I don't have to do it all today, right?
Right.
Just because I don't get this one book written doesn't mean I can't continue to collect resources for it and write it in 10 years because I finally like, oh, that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something click. So it's important for everyone, right?
There's this fear of, I need to launch it. I need to make money. First of all, anything I've ever done to make money, it never makes money, right? If I do something because I believe, so here's a great example is I made this conscious choice and I said, Kim, what do you love doing? What do you enjoy doing? I have enjoyed becoming a better writer. I've enjoyed mastering and doing this stuff. So then I thought, okay, where do I see people struggle that I talk to? And I thought so for the web app, I'm like, I need to create a content strategy. I'm like, I'm going to teach it. Let's just do a beta and see what happens. Curtis, it was the easiest thing I sold. I simply mentioned it in an email. I said, I'm going to do a content strategy workshop. And I said, I only want 10 people so that I did one-on-ones, like 2 or 3 with each person. And it was like $197. The second I sent out that email, 3 people are like, I want a spot, I want a spot, I want a spot. And I was like, wow, because I've been walking the walk and creating content, talking about content and showing up, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, and I own my mistakes. And so I thought, okay, this is not hard if you just do the work. And I don't mean, have you seen that Shia LaBeouf video where he's like, just do it? And he's like screaming like a nut. Oh my God.
No.
Yeah, that's not
part of my boundaries. I try to stay away from that because it's an endless rat hole of other interesting things.
Well, it's like people send me this stuff and I'm like, I'm like, if I nap and then I come back to write, I'm like, it's going to be way better if I'm not feeling it right. But it's just, it's these simple things that I put back into my business. And I'm like, you don't need to have, the 12 module course mapped out and perfected, and like offer something, create it, share, look, you guys are beta. How else can I help you? And it was amazing. And it also made me realize I don't want to do courses that I have to go back and update all the time. So that's what I thought. I'd rather do a continuity program where I can create value. It's no big, and show up, and things change all the time. I don't want to have to keep iterating stuff. So it's just my whole, I create all these hashtags for myself, right? The other one is just show up, because I'm like, you know what? I did a post too that was how fake it till you make it is ass backwards, because people are afraid then to put themselves out there until they look like they've made it, and it's interesting in this marketing space. I was talking to you about, my friend with the ad agency, another friend works for one, and she said all of those lifestyle photos, I'm like doing quotes, you can't see, the lifestyle photos they're not working anymore. People are tired of the BS. They're tired of the Lamborghini photos. They're tired of the yacht shots. It's just stupid. And it's like, you email a lot more than you used to now, don't you? Yeah.
I started dailies back in February or something. And
yeah. It's amazing to me. My emails are one of my top traffic sources, but it's like people have this fear, this perception of how it's supposed to look and how you're supposed to show up. And, but if I show that I've made a mistake, someone's not going to hire me. I'm like, that's so not true.
I think in fact, making a mistake, and everyone makes mistakes. Everyone knows that. It's the recovery from the mistake that shows your true character.
Yeah. And there's a way to do it and you have to navigate it, right? Like I talk about, like, I love Brene Brown too, right? The vulnerability piece. And you find that way to show up that connects with people. I hate the dumping and the bitching and the whatever. I do rants, but I'm like, I don't want to dump dirty laundry anywhere. It's just, no, I don't have the energy for that. But the anniversary of my husband's passing was May 7th. And I realized, I don't know, it was like 10 or 11 in the morning. It was a Sunday. And I was like, oh my God, it's May 7th. It wasn't the first thing on my mind when I woke up. And I was really grateful for that. I mean, he's on my mind all the time, but to wake up and feel like life is good, it's just another day. So I thought, I'm going to email my list and just say, and it was in loving memory and a personal message of hope. And I thought, you know what? I never thought I'd get through it. I did. Life is good. And I appreciate you guys being on this journey with it. It was and I'm like, screw it. I'm going to do it as a post. Curtis, I got 2,000 visits to that post that day. I had like 300 shares, and it was the connection, because you just assume people know your story. You assume, I'm like, well, it's been out there. I thought everyone heard it, kind of thing. And it was really a message of hope. And it was a way to say thanks for reading me, for coming to the site, for hanging out with me. And your dreams are worth pursuing. And I was floored. And it was such a testament to me that people want to connect with you, and just show up. It's like, there's no right or wrong, and you don't know until you do it.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. So where can people get a hold of you?
Best place is thewpchick.com.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll chat again, especially now that I know you're a big reader like that.
Oh my God. I'm like, you don't want to see all the bookcases.
We got rid of our books, and that's why we went with Kindle.
No, I do Kindle too, but I just, 10 years in books, I still love my books. I don't buy a ton, but still love them.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Curtis.